AHIS friends.
Around the world with Africans. It's one of the ways that a lot of Africans can get a lot of length to their hair, and it's a beautiful, beautiful hairstyle for people who don't want to put chemicals in their hair and want a very low maintenance. So when I heard about a story in South Africa where dreadlocks were being stolen right off of your head, I was just like, what?
Dreadlocks, a popular hairstyle in South Africa that usually takes many years to grow. It's now possible though to get a full head of dreadlocks instantly. And some criminals have spotted an opportunity to provide the hair. There have been some reports of people being mugged for their dreadlocks.
It's funny, but it's not really funny. When somebody like myself takes years to grow your locks and then all of a sudden you wake up in the alley and your locks are gone, that's kind of traumatic. And so it's not something that's very popular in South Africa, but it was reported on thisisafrica.me as a problem where people are walking around thinking that they might have to insure their dreadlocks because of the demand for human hair extensions. As you guys might remember, I did a video about cutting off and reattaching locks. And pretty much it is better to put natural hair into your hair when you are thinking about doing locks because it stays in, it bonds with your hair, etc. All the great reasons why why you would put natural hair in your hair in any situation. But this has been something that has been going on in South Africa for just a short amount of time, but it was reported that it's not going to be a very long-lasting.
And he's unsure whether South Africans will fully embrace the hair transplanting trend.
Most of them, they don't want to do implant because they're still more spiritual. Do you understand? If ever you want to take somebody else's hair and you put it on your hair, that is disgusting because you don't know, the hair is alive. You don't know what is in there. So majority of our people, they only would use their own hair or the hair of their family.
To put some strange person's hair into your hair is really serious and really like desperate. And locks will grow, your hair will grow, and it doesn't really need some sort of magic potion or to steal somebody else's locks. Naturally, locks will grow to the lengths if you just let it happen. And there's nothing wrong with experiencing the stages of growth. So when I saw that, I was just like, what? I was like, I hope that never it becomes the case here. I know a few of you had said that that's something that you would consider is to reattach locks, but you've also said that you would never use someone else's locks because that's just nasty and weird. The popularity of dreadlocks all over the African world can be seen everywhere. But if you go to Nigeria, if you even watch Nigerian videos, if I went to Sierra Leone, a lot of the young women were like, they were doing so many great things with locks. A lot of the men were rocking it out too. It's very, 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 very popular all across the African world. In South America, or people who follow Rastafarian culture, they'll lock their hair for those reasons. I don't know how many of y'all are young enough to understand this, but locks were the subculture of our hair. Nobody wanted locks. I remember when I was a child growing up, and the only people who had locks as a child growing up were people who considered themselves to be Rastafarian. And in that vein, nobody wanted to be associated with a Rastafarian unless they were a Rastafarian. And actually, my grandmother had a great disdain for locks. She hated it. Now, pretty much all of her grandchildren have locks, and she's learned to accept it and love it and be fine with it. But when it was just something that was associated with, my grandmother is Jamaican, by the way. And when it was just something associated with Rastafarian culture, a culture which she grew up with in Jamaica, she understood it to be something different. And so I think it's important to really note that the history of dreadlocking or locking your hair has been not accepted for a while, and it's not until we popularized it and done so many versions of it, whether it's free form, whether it's manicured, whether it's styling and cutting and all these other types of things, that really made it acceptable in our culture. But we have to understand that in some places it's still really not acceptable, and it is a mark of dissent or militancy in a lot of communities. In the same article that I read on thisisafrica.me, it was noted that in Zanzibar society that people who are Locs were targeted by police. They would have their hair forcibly shaved, and this is in the 90s, have their hair forcibly shaved and be considered a militant or somebody who was anti-government. And this is a powerful statement because throughout our history, our hair has been used to show our feelings, show our dissent, show our nonconformity. As a matter of fact, it actually was used as a form of dissent, as a form of revolution, and a symbol of revolution. There was a resistance in Kenya by a group who called themselves the Kenyan Land and Freedom Army, who also was popularly known as the Mau Mau, whose leader, Dedan Kimathi, whose hair was noticeably locked or freeform locked. And the Kenyan Land and Freedom Army waged a powerful resistance against British occupying colonial army. The images of their resistance were spread around the world and really inspired Africans in the United States and in different places. So that's a prime example of how our hair has been used to identify or be associated with resistance. I want y'all to be aware of the history of the hair, the struggles around defining our own identity through our hair, embracing our texture, is a very long history, which is the reason why I ever started doing natural hair videos on YouTube, and why I continue in some part to do it, because it's about being who you are, being comfortable in your own skin, and not being afraid to like really show who you are through this art form called hairstyling. I want y'all to be safe. Don't try to get nobody for their hair, and have a great day.